That's just one of the wonders that can be found on Steve Goodman's latest album entitled Affordable Art. And I love this part, too, on Red Pajamas Records.
Yep, homemade records and tapes, although this has awfully good sound quality for a homemade record.
It sure does.
And that's because of this fella Gary Brandt, who, you know, he was the recording engineer on some Gordon Lightfoot records and on Ode to Billy Joe, and he's got a studio up in the valley. And he let us bring tapes in besides the 2 or 3 that we made at his studio. He made it all sound like it was supposed to be on the same record.
There's a real good feel here. The live responses.
Yeah, we mixed it up a little bit.
I have to assume that Red Pajamas was your selection as a label.
There you go. Well, there's an old Pete Seeger song, a children's song. I know a little girl that wears red pajamas. My wife and I are blessed to have 3 beautiful daughters. The oldest is not quite 12, and there's one that's 8.5 and one that's 6.5. And I would sing them. I know a little girl named Red. Oh, wears red pajamas, red pajamas, red pajamas, right? And at one point, it was the oldest's favorite song when she was much younger. She likes Adam Ant now.
I was going to say one of them is getting close to being out of the red pajamas.
Oh no, she's definitely into red lipstick and green eyeshadow and
green hair.
And no,
not yet.
No,
okay.
She's good.
You have been with major labels. This is the more homemade way of doing things, as you said, Steve. Is it a harder road to hoe, or conversely, is there more satisfaction because you're closer to the process? Which is it?
Well, I'll tell you what, I enjoyed making records for Asylum. I made 5 for them.
Right.
Okay? And I've never really had any time in the studio that I didn't enjoy what I was doing or think I was trying to do my best. But it was so educational to see all ends of the business and to get a new appreciation for what the people that don't play instruments do at record companies, that I wouldn't have passed up the opportunity to make the albums that we just made for Red Pajamas. Yeah.
Now, how can people get a hold of this latest album by Steve Goodman, Affordable Art?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's $7 and $1 for postage, and that's it. I'll take care of the rest, and if you send that amount, then we'll take your check. No out-of-state two-party unendorsed checks, though, okay? All right.
And that's...
if you send it to Red Pajamas Records, P.O. Box 233. That's P.O. Box 233, Seal Beach, California. That's S-E-A-L, like the Easter seal. Seal Beach, California, 90740. And Boxcar Stevie will send you.
It's a wonderful record, and you should certainly have access to it for all of your collections out there. In fact, I noticed that, as has been the case very often in your past, going right back to your earliest work, there is a collaboration here with John Prine. How did you meet up with John? How did that relationship get going, Steve?
Well, we were both playing in clubs in Chicago. This, I think, starts towards the end of 1969. John surfaced. He was a mailman in the western suburbs of Chicago. He'd gotten back from Germany, where he'd been in the Army, and he would come downtown and sing at a place. He sang at a place called the Fifth Peg. I think that was the first place he ever sang. And it was across the street from the Old Town School of Folk Music, and I was singing at the Earl of Old Town at the time. One of the more notorious Chicago bars. And I went and saw John at the Fifth Peg, and he came to the Earl in 1970, I guess, is when we became friends, and then drifted off to New York together in 1971 with the help of Chris Christopherson, and we were sort of the Nairobi duo after that. And John wrote this song called Souvenirs, and I'll see if I can remember all the words for you.
Okay.
All All the snow's turned to water. Christmas days have come and gone. Broken toys and faded colors are all that's left to linger on. I hate graveyards and old pawn shops, for they always bring me tears. Can't forgive the way they robbed me of my childhood souvenirs. Memories that can't be bought, they can't be won, carnivals for free. It took me years to get those souvenirs, and I don't know how they slipped away from me. Broken hearts and faded windows make life difficult to see. That's why last night and this morning always look the same to me. I hate reading old love letters, they always bring me tears. Can't forgive the way they robbed me of my sweetheart's souvenir. Memories that can't be bought, they can't be won, carnivals for free. It took me years to get those souvenirs, and I don't know how they slipped away from me.
That's another one of the selections that can be found on Steve's latest album, Affordable Art. It's a John Prine song called Souvenirs. Is it possible I know that from a Bonnie Colac version?
No, actually, John recorded it on his second LP that we made here in New York with Reef Martin producing it in, 1972.
Yeah,
And John and I played a duet on it at that time, so this is really Souvenirs revisited.
Yeah. I must be thinking of Clocks and Spoons, which
Sure.
which Bonnie had done on one of her records.
Isn't that great about what's happened to Bonnie? I mean, have you been following this?
Oh, she was up here. We had her up right after that incredible article some months ago.
Yeah, well, it's just terrific. I saw the Human Comedy down there. I went to the Shakespeare Festival Theater there, Joe Papp's place. Where is it? Lafayette
Yeah,
Street.
right. You know. What a voice.
I don't mean to do an ad for him.
No,
they're great.
No, and Bonnie is terrific,
she's
too.
Tremendous, that's right.
Steve, you know, when a guest comes for one of these interviews, normally at the top, which I did not do today, I say in the casual way that people do, "Hi, Steve, how are you?" It's a courtesy question for most people. In your case, it's not a courtesy question because it is something that your fans are intensely interested in, of course, and that is your state of health. How are things for Steve Goodman in 1984 so far?
Well, things are going pretty well right at the moment, and as we speak, it's just about exactly 15 years since this all came up, and there aren't that many folks from January of '69 with the health problems that I had with acute lymphoblastic leukemia is the name of it, but it's more a situation than a stigma, and they learned how to do a lot of what they do now on guys like me, and I already had my big break, Pete, you know. I made it here, and if I hadn't had a little relapse in the summer of '82, I really don't think it would have been so much of a public issue somehow. It was never a secret, but I had no intention of trading on it, and then I missed a concert in New York, and one of the fastest ways to hit the wire services is to have to miss a concert in New York. It was on the pier. It was the Dr. Pepper Festival, and Harry Chapin's widow Sandy had called me up and asked me to come sing with Pete Seeger and Tom Chapin at what was supposed to be Harry's slot that year. And the day before it, I came to New York and I hadn't been feeling real great. So I went over to the hospital, and I never did get out of there that month. So that it hit the wire services, and once that happened, I talked it over with my physicians, and we decided that I did have some responsibility to whoever else might ever have to deal with any of these problems to, you know,
you've been there.
Show them that, you know, somebody can walk out the other side.
Yeah, are you?
Last Sunday's New York Times had a magazine section devoted to that almost.
Are you written up in textbooks and things like that? Is it that rare? Your experiences?
Well, not anymore, but in '69 it was.
That's what I mean. As a pioneer, in a sense, you were doing your career during even the early stage. Of these discoveries. That was.
I was doing this since spring of '67. I've been doing pretty much what I do now. I don't know. I think, you know, we all get these little signals in our life. It's sort of like being at a light, and the light either turns red or it turns green, and then you either, you know, walk one direction across the street. Say you want to get to the corner that's just diagonal from where you are, and you sometimes have to walk across 42nd Street before you cross 3rd Avenue, for instance. You know, just have to wait for the light sometimes.
These are difficult questions to ask. They are difficult questions to answer, I am sure, Steve. But
I've been overserved, Pete. You know, Memorial Hospital here in New York is about as good a place as you can go, and just super physicians there. Dr. Timothy G., to name one.
Okay. Is that where you get the strength to cope? That was my question. Where does that come from?
There are a lot of people who work very hard there who don't get any credit for anything, if you think about it. I mean, you can't name me 5 physicians over there, right?
You're right. You're right.
And they really don't get any credit, and they work twice as hard as musicians. And so, you know, it's... Well, you just walk around one of those places one day, and you don't have any. You know, the show business is a piece of cake. Yeah,
well,
birthday cake.
You learn that in a way that few people get the opportunity to, I would suppose.
Well, you know, the other thing that really helped is that I know some folks in the business who used to book around my trips for therapy. Right? They would book around my doctor's appointments. A guy named Al Bonetta, who lives out in Los Angeles, is John Prine's manager as well. And I don't know, without his help, I don't think I would have gotten as far along as I did either.
In one article I read about you, Steve, you said you were just happy to still be in the game as someone up in the stands with a lot of other people who love you and your work. Let it suffice to say that we're rooting for you.
Well, I sure appreciate it, but I'm doing pretty well. And, you know, I don't feel that what I'm doing is so much an inspiration as a necessity, you know. I mean, it's just something I felt compelled to do.
The alternative is unacceptable.
That was exactly how I said it.
You got a song for us?
Sure do. And this is a song that